crooked symbols into the wood. Sealed, do not open. But Victor didn't believe in prejudice. He took a shovel and, without thinking, kicked open the door. The smell of damp and rot hit him in the face. Behind the door was a narrow passage down, and at the end stood a chest. Victor bent down and carefully opened the lid. Inside were bones, but this was no ordinary skeleton. The bones were bound with rusty chains, and there was a rusty nail sticking out of the skull. A yellowed note lay next to it. You can't let him get out. Close the door before it's too late. At that moment something stirred in the darkness. Through the whispers and the heavy creaking of bones, he heard a terrifying gasp. The creature awoke. They returned. The candle flame in the basement trembled. The shadows on the walls began to move. Victor felt something cold touch his back. Slowly, he turned around. Behind his back stood a creature covered in rotting skin. Its mouth was torn open in an inhuman grin. You woke us up, it wheezed. Behind it, others were rising. Those who were buried in this house. Those who were waiting for a new master. Victor screamed, but the walls had already begun to shrink, absorbing his screams. The house had its new victim, but it would never be satiated. Victor screamed, but the walls were already shrinking around him, shadows sliding across the floor, stretching out bony arms. The creature with the tattered grin approached, its eyes empty but full of hunger. You are new flesh for the house. Victor dashed as hard as he could toward the exit, leaping over the remains, but there was no more passage. The house would not let him out. Shadows braided his legs and cold fingers gripped his neck. You must become part of us. Victor realized it was useless to resist, but in a last desperate move, he grabbed a rusty nail from the chest and drove it into the creature's skull. There was a terrifying screech. The creature staggered, its body crumbling to dust. At that moment, the walls of the house shook. Victor realized he had a chance. He rushed up the stairs, smashing everything in his path. He reached the front door. He pushed as hard as he could, and it opened. He tumbled outside, falling into the dirt, panting. When he looked back, the house was gone. Just black earth strewn with human bones. But he would return. A few months later, a new house was built on the same spot. The locals said that a young family would now live here. The realtor smiled at the new owner. You're in luck. It's a beautiful home, and at a very favorable price. The owner nodded as he looked at his new home. But within its walls, a familiar knocking sound was already beginning to be heard. Knock, knock, knock.